Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how easily we can unknowingly open spiritual doors in our lives? Doors that should never have been touched? Make no mistake, these doors don't just lead to empty spaces. They can allow invisible forces into our homes, disrupting the peace and harmony we once had. The truth is, many of the things we think are harmless, simple decorations, souvenirs, or even gifts can be gateways to something far darker. Today, it's time to open our eyes and examine what we've allowed into our homes. This is the moment to protect our families and our faith from unseen dangers. So, stay with me as we uncover the hidden spiritual threats in the objects around us. If you are not subscribed, I recommend subscribing and activating the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now, let's begin. It's undeniable that the past had its strengths. There was a certain raw beauty to the way things were. There was discipline, structure, and a sense of personal responsibility that feels all too scarce in today's world. People respected hard work, and commitments weren't taken lightly. They were honored with the kind of dedication that seems increasingly difficult to come by in our present age. The distractions that now dominate our lives were non-existent, allowing for richer, deeper human connections. Communities were stronger, families more intact, and there was a shared understanding of respect, duty, and loyalty that formed the bedrock of society. When I look back, it's impossible not to feel a longing for those days, a yearning for the stability and clarity they provided. It's easy to become nostalgic to see those aspects and feel a profound sense of loss. The world today often feels chaotic, fragmented, and uncertain, a vast swirling vortex of confusion that we struggle to navigate. But here's the hard truth. Change is inevitable. And if you allow yourself to be consumed by the idea that everything was better before, you risk becoming irrelevant, vivid, and closed off to the present. The danger of constantly longing for the past is that it makes you dismiss the present, turning a blind eye to the challenges, triumphs, and opportunities unfolding right in front of you. You might look at the younger generation and think they lack the toughness you had, that they've been coddled by a world too soft, too accommodating, too comfortable. You might see the way society has shifted and feel a deep frustration, thinking that values have eroded and that people today are no longer as grounded, disciplined, or tough as they once were. But let's be honest with ourselves for a moment. Every generation faces its struggles, its unique battles, and its evolution of hardship. The challenges may be different, but they are no less real or meaningful. What may seem like a weakness to you and the younger generation could simply be a different way of adapting to a rapidly changing world. What feels like recklessness may be their way of navigating a landscape that's drastically different from the one you knew. When you cling to the belief that the past was superior, you risk becoming a person who is difficult to be around. Every conversation can become a lament for the days gone by, a constant comparison to a time that can never be recreated. And eventually you alienate those around you, especially those living fully in the now. They begin to tune you out, and who can blame them? No one wants to feel as though they're falling short of an unreachable standard, a golden age that they never even experienced. If you keep dwelling on how much better things were back in your day, you risk becoming a relic of the past, a living reminder of a time no one can return to. Do you want to be the person who inspires others to face their challenges with strength and optimism? Or do you want to be the one whose presence is a constant reminder of dreams unfulfilled, of days gone by? Nostalgia, when indulged too deeply, can become a prison, a place where you're stuck, unable to move forward or appreciate the beauty and potential of the present. It can make you resistant to new experiences, new knowledge, and new ways of thinking. It fosters an us versus them mentality, where you see the past as superior and the present as a decline. The longer you hold on to that belief, the more you isolate yourself from the richness of life as it is today. So if you find yourself about to say, "Back in my day, things were better," take a deep breath and reconsider. Was it better, or was it just different? Were there struggles back then that you've conveniently forgotten? Were there injustices, hardships, or limitations that you would never trade for the advancements we've made today? And most importantly, how can you take the strength, wisdom, and lessons of your past and apply them to make today, not yesterday, the best it can be? The only way to honor the past is not by holding it up as a perfect ideal, but by using the best parts of it to shape a future that works for everyone, including yourself. I'm too old to change. How often have we heard this phrase? It's spoken with resignation, as though life is something to be endured rather than embraced. It's the voice of defeat, the voice that says, I've lived my life, I've made my choices, and now there's nothing left to do but wait. But this belief is one of the most dangerous things anyone can think. Goodbecka's a lie. To say you're too old to change is to declare that growth has ended, that learning has reached its peak, and that you are now only a shell of the person you once were. But that's not true. Change is not just for the young, the ambitious, or the restless. Change is the essence of life itself. Without it, we stagnate. Without it, we die, emotionally and spiritually, long before our bodies follow suit. The idea that age limits change is a falsehood, an excuse to avoid the discomfort of growth. Change isn't about throwing everything you've ever known out the window. It's about adapting to what life gives you. It's about embracing the opportunities that arise. Whether they're big or small, it's never too late to change. Never. To say it's too late is to surrender to the false belief that your story is already written. But let me tell you, your story isn't over yet. You are not defined by the past, not by the mistakes you made or the opportunities you missed. Every moment is a new chance to become better, to evolve, to break free from the limitations that you've placed on yourself. It may not be easy and it may not be comfortable, but to embrace change, no matter your age, is to embrace life itself. It's the only way to truly live, to reclaim your power and your agency, and to shape your future, rather than be at its mercy. I wish I had done things differently. How many times have we heard that? Regret is like an old friend, always there when we pause to reflect, haunting us with questions about the roads we didn't take and the choices we wish we could undo. It can weigh you down, make your heart heavy, and cloud your thoughts with what ifs and if only. Regret is a powerful force, no doubt, but it is only as powerful as the attention you give it. The past cannot be rewritten. It is fixed in time, immutable. No matter how often you replay the moments in your head, no matter how deeply you dwell on them, they are gone, beyond your reach. And yet, so many of us let regret steal our present moments, tying us to a past that no longer exists. The more we focus on what we could have done, the less we see the opportunities in front of us. The truth is that the only way to make peace with regret is to acknowledge it and let it go. It cannot define you. It cannot control you. Instead of mourning the chances you lost, celebrate the opportunities you still have. Embrace the wisdom that age has given you and use it to navigate the rest of your life with the grace and strength you've earned. Regret does not have to be a curse. It can be a teacher if you let it, but it must never be your master. You are still here. There is still time to make your life into something extraordinary, something worth living. Let go of the past and step forward with open arms, ready to embrace the life that still awaits you. 3 things you should never do. First, do not chase the approval of younger generations. I cannot stress this enough. It's an exercise in futility, one that will only lead to frustration, insecurity, and ultimately a slow erosion of your self-respect. It's as though you are sacrificing your very essence in a desperate attempt to be seen and valued in a world that is not your own. Yes, the world belongs to the young just as it once belonged to you, and they will shape it in ways that may seem foreign, confusing, or even infuriating to you. It's the natural cycle of life. But here's the bitter pill. Seeking their approval, bending yourself to fit their expectations, and trying to stay relevant in their eyes will never give you the validation you crave. Youth does not admire those who chase after it. They may smile politely, they may indulge you in conversation, but deep down, they sense the desperation. They know when someone is desperately clinging to their past, trying to grasp at something that's slipping through their fingers, and that very desperation, no matter how well-intentioned, diminishes the authority and wisdom that you, by your years, naturally possess. What people truly respect is someone who stands firm in who they are, the kind of person who doesn't apologize for the years they've lived or the lessons they've learned. If you want to be valued, do not pander. Lead. Be the example of stability, self-assurance, and quiet strength. Let your actions speak for you, not the desperate chase for approval that ultimately undermines your sense of self-worth. The world needs your wisdom and your guidance, but only if you're willing to stand tall in it, unapologetically you. Next, do not hoard possessions out of fear. It's so easy to let material things accumulate as you age, isn't it? You start holding on to things, clothes you'll never wear again, books you've already read, old furniture that no longer serves its purpose, all in an attempt to hold on to a sense of control, a desperate grip on a world that feels ever so fleeting. It's understandable. I get it. The fear of scarcity, the fear of loss, and yes, the fear of losing control over your own life all drive this tendency to accumulate. But here's the painful truth. Holding on to more and more stuff doesn't bring security. It brings a burden. The weight of all these material possessions, those old trinkets, the forgotten boxes stored away in the attic, only serves to trap you in the past. They hold you hostage, keeping you tied to a version of life that no longer exists. The comfort you find in these things is deceptive, a fleeting solace that fades the moment you realize how much it weighs you down. Letting go is not an act of loss, it is an act of liberation. When you release what no longer serves you, when you clear away the clutter, you create space. Space for clarity, space for movement, space for new experiences. The truth is, your legacy is not in the things you own, it's in the life you've lived, the love you've shared, and the example you've set for those who come after you. Don't waste your final years hoarding objects. Let go, and let the freedom of not being weighed down by the past shape your future. And finally, do not dwell on what you have lost. Loss is a constant companion as we age. It's a harsh reality we cannot avoid. Friends pass away, family members drift apart, our bodies begin to show the wear and tear of time, and opportunities that once seemed limitless begin to vanish. It's all too easy to fall into the trap of replaying the past over and over, longing for what was, mourning what can never be. But here's the most painful truth of all. Dwelling on loss does nothing to bring back what is gone. It only robs you of what remains. If you spend all your energy mourning what you have lost, you miss the chance to embrace what you still have. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. The mind plays cruel tricks, convincing you that life was somehow better before, that the present is nothing more than a shadow of what once was. But living in nostalgia, living in regret, is a prison. It keeps you stuck, anchored to memories of a time that's no longer relevant. The truth is, life is still happening right now, but if you are consumed by grief, regret, or longing, you will miss it. Loss is painful, yes, but it is part of the human experience. It should not be ignored or dismissed, but it must be processed, accepted, and ultimately released. There is strength in acknowledging what is gone, but there is even greater strength in choosing to move forward despite it. The past has shaped you, but it does not define you. You do not have to carry the weight of sorrow as a permanent burden. You have the power to put it down and walk forward. There is still beauty to be found in this life, still moments of joy to be had, relationships to nurture, and lessons to learn. There is still laughter, warmth, and love waiting for you. But you have to open your eyes to see it. You have to be willing to let go of the past and embrace what is here, right in front of you, waiting for you to claim it. 3 places you should never go. Do not go where you are not respected. As you grow older, your time, energy, and dignity become more precious than ever before. You've spent a lifetime learning, growing, and giving to the world. At this stage in life, it's not just important, it's necessary to recognize where you are unappreciated, unwelcome, or treated as irrelevant. You deserve more than to spend your precious time in spaces among people or in situations where your presence is merely tolerated. You have earned your place, your seat at the table. And if they cannot see your worth, that is their loss, not yours. If you find yourself in an environment where you are spoken to with condescension, where your contributions are dismissed, where your wisdom is ignored, ask yourself, why are you still there? Why are you allowing your time and energy to be wasted on people who don't value you? Too many people, out of habit or misplaced hope, keep returning to environments where they are not respected, where they endure subtle insults, patronizing tones, or outright indifference. But here's the truth. There is no need to endure that. You are not responsible for making others see your worth. If they choose to overlook your experiences, your character, and your wisdom, that is their failure, not yours. You don't owe anyone an explanation. Walk away from places and people who do not honor you and make space for those who will. Because in the end, it's not just about what you give to the world, it's about making sure the world is giving you the respect you deserve in return. You do not have to prove yourself to those who have already decided you are insignificant. You do not need to beg for a seat at a table where your voice will only be ignored, dismissed, or undervalued. It is time to walk away with your dignity intact and reserve your precious energy for spaces where you are genuinely appreciated, where you are valued for who you are and not what others want you to be. Life is far too short to chase after approval from people who have already made up their minds to refuse it. Why fight for scraps of recognition from those who are not willing to give you a seat at the table? Instead, focus your time and energy on the relationships and spaces that uplift you, where you don't need to beg for respect or attention. Surround yourself with those who truly listen when you speak, those who welcome your presence and see your worth without needing to be reminded over and over again. This is not about pride, nor is it about arrogance. It's about self-respect. When you stop seeking validation from people who do not acknowledge your value, you reclaim your power. You set the standard for how you deserve to be treated, and that alone is a powerful lesson for those who underestimate you. You are worthy of more than just tolerance. You are deserving of love, respect, and appreciation, and you should never settle for less. Do not go where you are merely tolerated, where you are not wanted. There is an immense difference between being accepted and being truly welcomed. As you age, your time becomes more valuable, and the people and environments you invest in should reflect that. Too many individuals linger in spaces where they are only tolerated, where their presence is barely acknowledged, and if it is, it's often out of politeness rather than genuine desire. This is a subtle form of rejection, an unspoken dismissal that can eat away at your self-esteem and dignity if you aren't careful. It's one thing to be accepted, but it's entirely another to be truly welcomed with open arms, to feel like your presence makes a difference and your voice is heard and respected. Being tolerated means others put up with you. You are a mere fixture, something to be endured rather than someone celebrated or cherished. You may receive invitations, but they come from a place of obligation, not genuine enthusiasm. Your words may be acknowledged, but they are not truly listened to. You may occupy a seat at the table, but you are excluded from the conversation, your thoughts brushed aside. If you find yourself in this situation over and over again, it's time to ask yourself, why do I stay? Why am I accepting this kind of treatment when I deserve so much more? The fear of being alone, the fear of severing ties, the fear of venturing into the unknown, these fears can keep you rooted in places and with people who only tolerate your existence. But understand this, staying in these spaces where your value is neither recognized nor appreciated only diminishes you. It pushes you into a position where you question your worth, where you feel you have to suppress parts of yourself just to fit in. This isn't just uncomfortable, it is a life of quiet suffering, a life that robs you of your dignity, and it is not one you should be willing to accept. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment too, below, to let me know that you are still here with me. Instead, seek out the spaces and people who genuinely desire your company, where your presence is not just tolerated but truly welcomed. Seek out the places where your voice is valued, where you are missed when absent, and where you are celebrated for the unique, wonderful person you are. These are the spaces that nourish your soul, the ones where you can thrive, not just survive. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth because the right people will see it without you having to say a word. The moment you stop going where you are merely tolerated, you make space for those who will celebrate you. That's the choice that defines whether your later years will be filled with dignity or silent suffering. Choose wisely. You are worthy of a life that reflects the depth of your experiences, the strength you have built, and the wisdom you have earned. Never settle for less. Some may argue that revisiting past pain is the only way to gain closure, But I've come to believe that closure does not always come from returning to painful places. It often comes from leaving them behind. True healing is not about constantly confronting the past or dwelling on the hurt you've experienced. True healing comes when you choose to stop letting the past define your future. Every time you revisit old wounds, you reinforce their hold on you, giving them more power over your emotions, your peace, and your ability to move forward. You allow the past to keep you tethered to places and people that no longer serve you. And that, my friends, is the most soul-crushing thing you can do to yourself. Let the past rest where it belongs, behind you. Only then can you truly begin to heal and step into the freedom of the present moment. Let go, it's the only way forward. As we wrap up today's discussion, I want to leave you with this. Life is far too short to spend it chasing approval from others or clinging to the past. You deserve to be valued for who you are right now, and it's time to let go of what no longer serves you. Whether it's the relationships you invest in, the possessions you hold on to, or the pain you revisit, you have the power to choose where you spend your energy and how you define your worth. The wisdom you've accumulated throughout your life is powerful, and it's meant to guide you into a future filled with dignity, freedom, and peace. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What have you learned so far from today's video? Is there one thing you've discovered that you'll bring into practice in your life? I encourage you to share it in the comments below. Let's inspire each other to live with intention, courage, and self-respect. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave your comment below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Let's continue this journey together. Thank you for watching.